what is your coaching philosophy?
Well, it's pretty easy. You can read it. But my coaching philosophy is obviously built on hard work, discipline, and loyalty. And I think if you can, really get those kind of people surrounded by you as your team and your staff, and people who are willing to put in the time and have discipline in their lives to work hard and to do everything necessary to be successful, and they're loyal, to what the end goal is, I think you can have a lot of success. I think with the situation as it is in the NCAA right now, I think there obviously are extreme levels depending on the sport and depending on how much revenue that sport is bringing in. But as a whole, I think that the cost of a scholarship, what that costs a university every year, and what they're giving the student athletes, and now that the cost of attendance is added into that, I think that needing more than that is not necessary, personally. But I understand at certain levels when a team is bringing in, a North Carolina men's basketball team is bringing in millions of dollars, football teams are bringing in millions of dollars, that I think it's very hard for some of those student athletes to balance all of it. So by not having the opportunity to work and not having the opportunity to do some of the things a normal student athlete does to get extra money, I think the opportunity for them to be able to, get some extra compensation is important. Now, in the recruiting process, I think that has to be the same over the entire field. I don't think one university should get more over another, and I think that's where it becomes very, very difficult. But I think including cost of attendance into a scholarship has been a very good move for the NCAA. Yeah, I think, for me, my philosophy is kind of built on how my character has been built. I think through adversity, through teamwork, through discipline, through understanding what it means to be a team member as opposed to an individual. It truly keeps you from being selfish. It teaches you how to work with a diverse group of people. It allows you to be able to, express yourself and communicate to a lot of different groups of people. And I think that sport has taught me that. And sport has also taught me that the highs are very high and the lows are very low. So to continue to work to get the balance, whether it's in your personal life or whether it's in your coaching life or in your playing life, to understand that kind of balance you have to have in your day-to-day life. And I think, hard work and adversity and discipline and teamwork and time management, those are all the skills that you need to be successful in life. So I appreciate that through sport. I think it's taught me a great deal about how to be patient and how to get through adversity, and that there are times that things aren't always going to be perfect, but that's what the real world is out there.
Thank you. So can you expand on some of the things that you do with your team to just reach out to the community?
And I think that is community service is one area that I think is extremely important. I think it also teaches you a lot of life lessons and for you to appreciate what you have. But I also think there's an accountability on our part as coaches, as players, that we're role models, and that we need to get out there more in the community, and that people need to understand that we can really help a lot of people. And we have on our team young women who are very intelligent. They come from all different kind of lifestyles. They are from all over the world. So we have a lot to offer people, and I think that when you get out into the community and you give back, it teaches your team that this is how it should be. You should pay it forward. We've been given a lot, and so that we need to get out there and give back to people. On the other hand, it's another time commitment for student athletes, and so to ask them to do that a lot is very difficult. I know me personally, I would like to get out a lot more than we've been able to get out, but you're also very respectful of our student athletes' time. So obviously we try to do at least 2 or 3 events as much as we can, and be involved in education, and be involved in grassroots and getting out to the public schools, whether it's reading or whether it's doing a clinic at a school, and just having, people exposed to these young women that bring so much to the world and have so much to give. So community service is very important to me. I just wish I could do more.
Thank you, Coach Fisher, women's basketball head coach. Thank you.
I thought Coach Fisher's response on how the athletes, if they should be compensated or not for their work in their sport, was a good answer. I had some problems with it just because it seemed a little bit open-ended, but she definitely touched on what most people seem to come to in agreement with, as far as the NCAA making money on athletes, and especially schools like she mentioned in the video of North Carolina's basketball team, especially since they just won March Madness, the tournament. They're obviously bringing in millions and millions of dollars for their school. However, the only issue I have with it, and she touched on it briefly in her interview, was that the issue she would have with paying these athletes is it isn't fair to other schools. I mean, how would you identify who gets what, who gets how much, and how they divvy up the money? Coach Fisher made it a point to say that she believes that scholarships and including the attendance fees is a good move by the NCAA, and I definitely agree with that statement. However, for the athletes, such as, getting personal with it, our football team here at USD are not scholarship based, yet we arguably have one of the most demanding practice schedules there is, as far as lifting, practice time on the field, meetings, etc. And what I would like to have been able to propose to Coach Fisher and just get her opinion on it briefly, but we didn't have enough time, would have been that kind of flat fee salary that I had touched on in my paper regarding athletes being compensated, because she seems to have come to some understanding that athletes should be compensated in some way to respect the amount of time that they give to the sport and the amount of time that takes away from personal activities and what they could be using as time to get a job and earn more money to help them stay financially stable. She acknowledged that the sport does take away sufficient amount of time so that athletes cannot do things such as work, study, other jobs in the community, and that essentially being an athlete is a full-time job. So for the most part, I agree with Coach Fisher's statement on that, but I disagree with the fact that saying scholarships is enough, because there are plenty of academic scholar athletes that are not on full ride scholarships and are not getting those attendance fees. So overall, I thought it was a well thought out interview, and I appreciate her remarks on all the questions.
Her coaching philosophy really spoke to me. Coming from programs that emphasize hard work and loyalty really shaped me into the player I am today.
For Coach Fisher's interview, I thought her coaching philosophy was excellent. I 100% agree with her. I think it takes a good work ethic, loyalty, and discipline to be an exceptional player, as well as a professional in the real world. I like her stance on paying NCAA athletes. I think they shouldn't, because there's a controversy on how much to pay universities, and I don't think one university should get more money than the other.
Okay.
It's recording. How has athletics helped shape your character?
Like you hear people saying, sports, all kids should have sports because it will help them not just on the court / field, but also in their real life. And in my case, was that I think it's interchangeable, because I'm a warrior on the field. I fight for what I want and never get tired of pursuing what I want. And I think since I've played basketball for most of my life, that becomes natural. So it's natural that I do it the same way outside of work. So I think building my character, that fighting in me, other things that I think helps with playing sports is working with people, teamwork, organize yourself and prioritize what needs to be done. because that's what you learn when you play sports. There's time for every single thing. There's times for doing individual workouts, team workouts. So you, with your life, you just change the subject, but you try to. It's like almost a puzzle to fit everything in your everyday life. So that's what I took from sports. As an athlete, I was an athlete that changed teams a lot because I like to settle a little bit. So you will have, I played in Italy, so I was a foreigner. You have foreigner players, and most of the time American players going and playing there. They would change teams every single year. I didn't do that. I would stay in that team for the minimum 2 years. I ended up staying 4 years in another team. But and to change a team when you know you're going to stay more than a year is a big decision. And sometimes you deal with difficult choices because basketball at that time was that's the way I was independent. That's the way I got money to survive. And have a bigger life. But I was never driven just for money. So I would look, yes, the paycheck, but I would have to deal with, I was the coach, I was the city, I was the teammates I was going, because I would spend a lot of time with them. And sometimes the money was good, but the team wasn't that good. Sometimes the money was good, the team was good, but the coach, I didn't think I would fit well with that program. So it was dealing with that. I always tried to figure it out, what is best at that particular time. I was lucky enough that I never let money be the most important thing. I always value the human part of the game. For me, the most important thing was how well I would work and develop myself, how well the coach interact with the team and the team with the coach, because I was part of that. Money to me always came, I'm not saying last, but it was sure not the first. But sometimes it's hard because, you're turning down a lot of money. But I think that as a player, that's the big thing that you have. You have to put in the same plate all different things. And I always make a list, pros and cons, and go with it. Talking about that is almost talking about the beginning of the world, because it's not, yes, they made a fuss about it, well deserved, because we always talk about it, but there's not much being doing about it. And it's not just soccer, it's any other sport, and it is any other job. It's statistically, if a woman has the same job as a man, and they have exactly the same responsibilities, they have exactly the same name on the door, she will do 33% less.
She would make 30.
Yeah, 33% less than men, and it'll always be like that. So now,
and in this case, the women, they were the world champion, and they won way more games than the men.
And then, of course, they bonus. I don't know the story, but I can tell you what they're fighting for, because I think that's what we all. And I did my share when I played for my national team.
Yeah.
And our man and I have my brother playing in the men's. He used to play the men's national team, and I used to play on the women's side. And I would qualify for the European Championship, and because almost just the expenses, and they would just qualify to the next round, so they had to make 2 rounds to get where we were, and they were big bonuses. So it always been like that, and more than. We had this discussion, because I was in Italy, and we had women's in sports and in the world, and we talked about us having to do a lot more sacrifices than men do. And I gave the example again of my brother. My brother at age of, he's now 38, his kids are at age of 32, 33, he decided to have a family. So he became a dad. At age of 32, 33, I was at the peak of my career. So if I decide to have a family, my career is over. So I have to choose. I cannot have both, while men can. So they already make more, their living choices don't change their career. He chose to be a dad, he can be daddies to play. Women choose to be mothers, they have to stop, and most of the time that's the end of their career. Because teams don't give her more money because now it's a lot more responsibility and she has a kid, and so that is not fair, but that's the way things are. We don't have maternity leaves most of the time. You just don't play, you don't get money. I think that's the thing that the WNBA is doing a great job right now, is they are at least trying to get treated as professionals. And this weekend we had the Final Four, and I was one of the players that just had a baby. She's on maternity leave, so this summer she's not going to play as of right now. Maybe it depends how in shape she gets, and might be able to play the end for the playoffs. But right now she's home with her baby, and the league finds other things to do. She cannot be on the court, so she's still involved with the team, and that's a good thing because you still want to feel like you belong. And they keep it around. It's not that, okay, you mom, you're fired. So I think the league is doing a great job on that. And some of the places are doing it, but we're still fighting that. So it's always going to be, I think, what the soccer players were doing. And if you know, like Nike had those equity shirts, I think that is a great example that we start fighting. And it's going to be a long fight, but it's worth it.
Thank you so much, Mery. Everybody, Coach Mery, women's basketball.
What I took from Coach Mery's interview was that character and athletics are interchangeable, and the bonds that we make in sports contribute to teamwork and how we form relationships with other people in the real world.
Like how she said she has a warrior mentality and she doesn't give up easily. She does everything she can to win, and I think this is a great mentality to have on and off the court. And she really attributes her success to these characteristics of a warrior mentality. And also she said she's developed characteristics such as being a team player and being persistent, and she could translate these characteristics to her real life as a professional off the court. And she mentioned that when she was playing abroad, she wasn't really too worried about the money. She was more focused on developing long-term, sustainable relationships with her players and coaches, because in the long run, those are the people that are going to matter the most.
Hear two coaches speak about how their athletic career has shaped their character. It seems to be a universal theme that athletics helps you communicate with different people, handle adversity, as well as grow from both the highs and the lows that you experience within your sport. And one of the coaches did say that sports isn't just something that you play and then you move on from, but it becomes part of who you are. So your competitiveness, your drive, your self-motivation is something that doesn't just end when you walk off a court or a field or anything like that. It's something that becomes part of your daily life. So you know how to handle that adversity. You have that self-motivation. You don't need to be told, but you go after it. I also think that it's nice to hear a coach talk about how their personal experiences have helped them develop their coaching philosophy. Not a lot of coaches get time to reflect on their own experiences before they go back into coaching, but it's nice to see that coaches are really looking back, thinking about what worked for them, what didn't work for them, and making a better team for the future. I also enjoyed hearing that money isn't everything. I think that we are very caught up with making as much money as possible, but it's about doing what you love and making the financial situation, if possible, work for you, especially with someone I'm interested in going into teaching, so hearing that you can make the finances work is always a comfort.
I really loved both coaches' interviews. It was great to see them verbalize the way that I have seen them act in the past 4 years for Coach Fisher and 2 years for Coach Mery. And Coach Mery being coached by Coach Fisher in her college years has just grown up under her wings and has become a strong woman, just like Coach Fisher, and they have great character. And I just love the way Coach Fisher brings up the team, because we used to have to do extra readings and presentations like before practice, and that's crucial time. Coaches are limited in their practice time now more than ever, and for her to give us time to journal write, to be grateful for things, writing all those stuff down in our gratitude journals, stuff like that. I think that's priceless, and those are the intentional stuff that leaders need to instill into their youth, and Coach Fisher I think has done an excellent job by that, and Coach Mery too. They're not just like great coaches, they're great people, and it starts with that, because when we're in trouble we can turn to them, and they can be tough, but they have your best interest at heart, and that's what matters. Their character matters. So I hope you guys enjoyed the interviews, and I know it was long, but thank you for sticking with us.